We're going to go ahead and get started. It is at the top of the hour. My name is Lauren Bailey. My friends call me LB. I'm the founder of 3 brands that you see on this slide. Factor 8, my first baby, is 12 years old. Girls Club, my passion project, is 2 years old. And the Sales Bar, where we have way too much fun with punny jokes, is our virtual platform that facilitates all of our great training for both companies. Today's going to be a sample platter. I'm going to give you some of my very favorite tips across 5 or 6 of our most popular management training courses at Factor 8. So I'm going to start by telling you just really briefly my story. I got into sales management in my early 20s, which was 800 years ago. I was the youngest person on my team. I was way overemployed. I was I was out of my depths. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Can we just be honest? And it was a struggle. It was a really tough time. I was frustrated that my reps didn't get the skills they needed to sell over the phone. And I was frustrated that they taught me how to, use the payroll system and where not to park and how to not sexually harass people, but nothing about being a sales manager. And I was brand new at it. So my heart goes out to those of you who are in that situation, especially right now when you can't cheat off the manager next to you, which is what I did for years. So that experience still drives me to drink. And it inspired me writing the curriculum that now fuels our Factor 8 rep level training and our Factor 8 and Girls Club management level training. So if you haven't heard of those before and you're a multitasker, you can learn more at factor8.com. or at wearegirlsclub.com. So cool. All right. Let's jump right in. My goal is to share as many tactical takeaways right now and inspire you to keep your development going. At the end of this, I am going to share a pilot boot camp that we're opening. So some of my folks here already are in a virtual cohort program that we do for management development called Girls Club, but I get lots of questions from the guys about where's our program, and we're going to pilot one exclusive for the folks who signed up to this today. So stay tuned for that. Here we go. What do the most successful managers look like? Here we are. I want you to know that we teach this in our class called Your Role as a Sales Leader, which is typically our first course when we're working with managers and company custom programs. But it's also my cheat sheet from the Factor 8 benchmark. So my team of inside sales experts is often asked to come in and benchmark or assess virtual sales departments, right? Are we doing it right? What are best practices? What's going on out in the world? How can we improve? And this is my cheat sheet from when we would assess management teams. So some really cool tips here for existing managers, for my VPs on the calls when they're looking down at their teams, and of course for my aspiring managers who want to make sure that we're setting our sights on the best we can be. So number one, it's not just about hitting number, it's about hitting the team number and doing so with the largest percent of the team at quota. I've known a lot of managers in my experience who make it every month and get awesome commission checks, but they're riding the backs of 1 or 2 super stellar reps and a couple bluebird accounts. So when we look for top managers, we see who has the highest percent of their team hitting goal. We also look at a combination. Do you have high attrition, right? Are you bringing people in and spitting them out? So does that, you're just cherry picking. Can I find great talent or can I keep great talent? And then am I helping them get promoted? So 2 things that aren't always easy to measure and aren't on everybody's scorecard, but they're on mine. This says they're doing the right things the right ways. The next 2, we look at, can we consistently ramp newbies? Okay, so if you're the top manager because you have the highest tenured team, you're not working so hard for it, okay? If I were your VP, I would probably mix some things up a bit and see if you can develop the new kids as well. So how quickly you get them up to speed tells me a lot about your process, about your teamwork, about your coaching, about how you're using your training resources, about your hiring. Number 6 is critical. Almost every virtual sales team in the world on the macro scale is growing, right? Inside is growing at a rate of 10 to 15x field sales. And of course, everybody in the world right now is a virtual seller. So even when we get out of this pandemic, we're going to see virtual selling grow and grow and grow and grow. So scalability is key. And in the first couple of years, and for the first 3 to 5 managers, there is no consistency. It's the wild, wild west. We're all doing it our own way, right? And there's a huge variance of performance between reps and between managers. The managers who are ready for that next level and our top performers have a system in place. And I'll give you some sneak peeks into what we look for in that system. Awesome. They also have a hiring matrix and system. This is something they can repeat. They know how to pick a winner and they can do it again, again, and again. They also consistently find the time to coach. And I got to tell you, like, if I were a busy, crazy manager right now and I saw number 8, I would be like, I know it's so hard to find the time for coaching. But when we get our stuff together and we're proactive and we're in charge of our day and we have a management cadence and process, we're finding that time to coach everybody. And I'm going to give you a few tips for that. The last 2 we looked at is we can really see a team development culture there. Everybody is keyed into continuous improvement. And we're watching these leaders talk about leading indicator KPIs more than anything else. And I'll explain that on the next slide. So that's our cheat sheet. VPs on the call, can't wait to hear what you think. What would you add to my list? I hope you'll chat it in right now. If you lead sales managers, what would you add to my list of 10 of what you look for your most successful sales leaders? And by the way, if you're a sales manager looking to get promoted, this is your list. Okay, while some of our participants chat that in, let's talk a little bit about growth. So I love trend spotting, and every year I challenge myself to pick up a new trend. And we always look at sort of the beginning, middle, and end, right? How do we watch the 3 points on the curve? So when I'm talking about managers, we're going to look at a young manager, right? Maybe I was promoted from rep in the last year or 2, which is where we focus on Girls Club, help getting them promoted, and managers who have been there for under a few years. The developing manager, so I'm somewhere between maybe 2 to 5 years, and that super strong manager, that leader, okay? And I'm going to talk about different ways we see the growth happen, or the continuum. So first and foremost, young managers love to talk about dials, right? It is the one thing we understand. We feel like we can control it. It is on every dashboard. I get it. We can't get the sales if we can't get the dials, okay? So I hear young managers talking about dials and revenue, and that's it. They're missing the world in between, and it's totally normal and natural. As we progress a little bit, managers start to realize, you know what? When I ask for a dial, I get a dial. So maybe I should talk about conversations. Maybe I should talk about talk time instead. So if we're looking at metrics, we're moving up the ladder a little bit. When I see strong managers, they're going to talk about metrics when they have to with their team. It's there, but they're certainly not focused on it. They're looking at the selling ratios. In other words, how many calls does it take to get a conversation? How many conversations does it take to get a conversion? What percentage of my calls are moving down the pipeline, et cetera? So listen around you. This whole slide is about what do you hear your managers talking about, whether it's your manager, yourself, or your colleagues. All right, same thing. Young managers are talking all about activity. The developing manager, yep, they go back up to the top with results, but the ones who really get it are looking at KPIs in the middle, especially the leading indicator, KPIs. When we look at that, we still have some control, right? A result, whether it's a revenue, a growth, a profit, whatever, at the end of the month, too late, my friend. But at month 1, I can be looking at those ratios and KPIs, and I can still do something about it and help my team win by the end of the month. So my young guys are yelling about the activity. Hey, get on the phones. My developing managers, they're advertising the achievers. Look at Amy. She's killing it. Amy's got 80 dials today. Where are you? My super strong managers are celebrating behaviors. I've got a story I love. When I had a chance to tour a local Phoenix inside sales center, Yelp. They celebrated behaviors. And I thought it was just the coolest cultural thing in the world. So you walk through and they've got lots of fun. Like everybody gets free cereal and there's gongs and there's ping pong tables. Remember when we all thought that was the most important thing? And now like we would just love to drive to an office. Anyway, they had really fun things for the President's Club winners, right? They were like commemorated in velvet, like, you know, dogs playing cards and Elvis kind of velvet up along the walls. And that was hilarious. But the piece de resistance that had like the really prominent fielding there were axes. They had an axe up on the wall, and then there was writing with the rep's name and some decorations on it. And it just begs the question. I was asking the guy giving me a tour, like, what? Tell me about the axes. And he says, well, this is a special award. The axe is awarded to the rep who hacked their way out of a bad situation. So what does that mean? Maybe you start the month with a return. Maybe there's a negative. Maybe you lost 10 great account, whatever it is. We've all been there, right? Where it didn't come up roses for us and we got to hit our number anyway, like hello, selling during a pandemic. That is not something you get off your level 11 dashboard. That's not something that you're going to see in your month-end reporting. It's a behavior. It's an attitude. It's a culture of, I'm going to win at all costs. It's subjective, which is why it's a little harder. And great managers aren't afraid to go there. They're rewarding the right behaviors. They probably also don't have people on their team that get to quota any way they can, sometimes the wrong way. We all know those reps, right? There's a few of them out there that nobody trusts. Strong managers don't keep them on their team. You got to do it the right way. All right, a few other examples. I don't want to spend too much longer on this slide, but it's kind of fun, isn't it? A young manager is going to be on the fire patrol. That's whack-a-mole management. What's hot? What's on fire? Where do you need me? There's a line at my desk. I spend the whole day reacting, and then I stay till 7 p.m. doing email, okay? A developing manager is going to follow some sort of a standard procedure. Oh, well, I know that I'm supposed to get these things done. The high performers have a cadence. We teach it in essential manager meetings. It's like a sales process for sales managers. I know this is how often I'm doing performance one-on-ones. I know that you've got this question. We're going to address it in our huddle in the morning. I've got a cadence. I got a process. I got my dance steps. And I'm going to push things into those dance steps so that I can be in control of my day. A few more tips on that towards the end. Young managers are creating fear. Get it or else. Developing managers are creating stars, but the top ones create a culture. Last one, we enforce the rules. We develop a process. We develop people. And that's where I just love seeing it. Love seeing it. And thank you so much to Katie for adding something to the comments. Hire and recruit the right talent. Boom, absolutely. And then develop that talent, right? Or use resources to do it. So let's talk a little bit about the transition. The vast majority of us became managers just because we were great reps, right? Unfortunately, there's a huge fail rate there. And as leaders, it's frustrating because we've lost our top rep and then we have somebody fail out as a manager. As a rep who does it, it's frustrating because we're used to being the top of our games. And now all of a sudden we're starting over and we're in over our heads and it's a confidence shaker and it's hella hard to go backwards, right? There's a lot of downsides to this. My favorite book that addresses it is 1,000,000 years old called The Leadership Pipeline. And here's what it teaches us. There are transition points. When you're a top rep, you're leading yourself, right? The left-hand side, I'm a minute old. At the right-hand side, I'm the very top on the team. Cool? So quota is somewhere just to the right of middle. When I move into becoming a manager, it's not about keeping this line moving and extending it. It's actually about switching directions. In fact, if you look closely, a top rep who's at the very right of the line, ooh, look, I can mark on this. A top right, here we go, hang on. Mouse, no, select, text, here we go. We'll try it here, okay? Somebody who's, won't work for me. Sorry, guys. Somebody who's at the very top of the line actually has to go backwards to go in the other direction. What are some of the skills? We'll let the rest of the slide build. What are some of the skills that super top reps have to unlearn in order to be great managers? Anybody who wants to play along, I super encourage you to do that right now. Chat it in for me. A top performing rep has some skills, some attributes, some behaviors they have to undo in order to turn and take a successful passage into management. Can anybody guess what some of those are? The lone wolf, doing everything myself, all about me, closing business, the head down grind. You guys have nailed it. Our top reps are competitive. In fact, your super top reps are some of the most high maintenance people in the world, right? They need to be pet all the time, all the time. Guess what? Not about you anymore, buddy. Not at all. It's not about you winning. It's not about you getting the credit. It's not about you closing the deal. It's so hard to undo those behaviors, and that's where we fail. When we turn and take the change, the new leadership pipeline, passage one, into leading others and being a frontline sales manager, all of a sudden we have to coach. We have to measure performance. We have to hold others accountable. We have to plan work. We have to assign work. We have to hire. It's a whole new set of skills, you guys. And sadly, most of our companies don't have the management training programs to help us. I know that my companies never did, which is, right, how I got inspired to go and build it. All right, another quiz for everybody. The best sales managers are in the blank business. I put these in just so I can drink in the middle. I don't mean drink, this is not vodka. My best girlfriend has a water bottle that says not vodka across it. Isn't that great? What business are you in? The best sales managers in the world are in the, you guys are nailing it. Absolutely nailing it. If you don't have chat, open it up so we can have some fun. The building business, the relationship business, and the number one answer on, oh, I love that, Louise. Louisa, encouragement, nice. Hi, Susie Green, the helping business. It's all around this, you guys. The best managers are in the people business. That's the business you're in. It's not the industry. It's not in the driving numbers business. You're in the people business. Here's why. Look at that. Almost 100% of the team is saying, I'll stay here forever if you develop me. I had trouble picking which stats to put here because there's so many. The number one thing that millennials are looking for is that opportunity to learn and grow. The number one reason for repetition, according to Aberdeen, is a lack of development. One of my favorite organizations is the AAISP. Check them out if you haven't already, aa-isp.org, American Association of Inside Sales Professionals. And they do studies almost every year. And every year for like the last 10 years, lack of development on the job is a number 1, 2, or 3 challenge as cited by reps. Funnily enough, by leaders as well. So the reps want it, they crave it, they need it. I think that's tough sometimes for us leaders to remember because we got here because we were superstars. Can I just be honest? Especially when you're my age, right? We were in the sink or swim mentality. There wasn't a war for talent. So those of us who are above a certain age, we walked uphill both ways. We were given the yellow pages. We were, given a rotary phone, barely exaggerations, and we rose to the top. So thinking about the fact we have to care and feed all these other people is a little alien to us, but it's necessary. In fact, I want to pause for a moment and talk about the number one disappointment I hear from new managers. Okay, I teach hundreds of new managers every year, and my team does most of that now. And we have some candid conversations about this is a whole new bag, right? And it's frustrating and it's challenging. And what does it mean? And there's this point that I feel is it's almost a rite of passage. And at some point, almost every single manager cops to the fact they feel massively disappointed. Not just in the job and how hard and thankless it is, and there's some of that, but because they're not leading a team of superstars. They're not leading a team of all A's. They're not leading a team of their former selves. Every team has a bell curve of people. And if you've been in management longer than a minute, you make your number every month on the backs of your B players. But they were A players, and not everybody gives the same level that we did. Not everybody cares as much as we did. Not everybody's self-motivated. Not everybody's going to go learn it. Not everybody's going to try. Not everybody's going to push. Not everybody's going to be as competitive. And that's really freaking disappointing when you deal with that all day long. So if you're one of my folks here today who's thinking about getting into management, I want you to spend a couple minutes asking yourself the why. And if it doesn't have something to do with making things better, doing things better, or number one answer on the board, developing other people, you're probably going to hate the job. And that disappointment's going to be even harder. So it's about building reps. And we talk a lot about that. You'll see on each one of my slides, I highlight the class that we talk about. I think Amy sent out our overview where you can see all the different classes that we teach. Now, obviously that's a great advertisement for us, but at the same time, a hell of a cheat sheet when you're looking at what you need to go and learn, right? Because it's all about the job training for sales managers. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how we develop a team. This is something that I find widely misunderstood at even some of the top levels. I'm in the behavior change business. Obviously that's part of the people business, but people hire my company when they're looking to make a shift, whether that's inbound to outbound, whether that's rep to manager, whether that's order taker to strategic account manager, field to virtual, right? That's when they come and find us. And I want to just share that behavior change takes more than most people think that it does. And sadly, as a frontline manager, you're very often being charged with recruiting the team, interviewing the team, hiring the team, managing the team, training the team, coaching the team, including being a report runner, a contest facilitator, a dashboard administrator, a customer service manager. You get the idea. It's the busiest damn job in the entire world, everybody. When it comes to behavior change, we need to support our managers. And here's the way to do it. Step one starts with the meeting. This is where you pull in your VPs. This is where you talk about the change that's going to happen. Okay, it's a leadership level meeting. There's some rah-rah and some motivation. We're there to present the new information and cover who it touches, what is going to happen, why it's happening. Here's the company line. It's usually mostly one way, maybe a little Q&A. Then step two, where most of us kind of forget, this is where we have to train the new skills, okay? I'm sure you'll understand it if I say it this way. Have you ever experienced that you tell your team what to do and they don't do it? Like every freaking time, right? That's because meetings don't change behavior. Even coaching doesn't change behavior. It takes the 1, 2, 3 punch. So the training is where we have to do the heavy lifting of actually developing the new skill. If the meeting was 30 minutes, the training is probably going to be 2 or 3 hours. It takes time to do it. We have to role play. This is where we don't just talk about what to do, but we talk about how to do it. And sometimes even more importantly, when to do it, where to do it. We have to practice it. We have to try it. We have to fail. We have to figure out what we're going to say. Having a meeting and giving a script does not change behavior. Okay, this is learner-led. Great training is facilitated. Adults need to participate to actually learn. Now is when we can excel as coaches. When we talk about something and set expectations, then teach people how to do it. The coaching is about giving the custom feedback on the skill execution. It's the guardrails, it's the bumping back in. I see that you tried X from the training. Did you try Y? You did a great job with A, B, and C. Now let's work on D, E, and F. It's the when and how focused. Here's the definition of coaching, because we screw this up over and over, you guys. A call must be present. It can't be more than 3 people receiving the coaching, and everybody gets custom feedback on their execution. It's also 2-way, and great coaching is question-based. I've got some great tips coming up on call coaching, but if we could all level set here and understand that it takes all 3 to get a behavior change, and that if you're trying to do a big shift and it's all on the backs of your frontline sales managers through coaching, you're never going to get there. Right? Coaching is about tapping, small changes only. Okay? This is key. Now, unfortunately, we're in trouble here because we're depending on managers to change rep behavior, and sorry, but Sales Executive Council tells us we're not so good at it. Yeah, sales managers' number one worst skill is call coaching. Now, I have to be honest with you, I resemble this remark and I've seen it for years, and there's lots of good reasons why. I have 6 top reasons why we suck at call coaching. I'm going to share a couple and then give you some solutions. But here's the number one reason. Ron Burgundy, hey folks, remember one of those things we had to quit doing when we were a great rep was making it all about me? It's really, really tough when you're in a call coaching scenario and we're trying to fix a rep's behavior. Because first of all we want to do is rip the headset off and do it ourselves. But the next step after that is, hey, do it like this. And unfortunately, people don't learn that way. The second big mistake we make is the laundry list, right? Which of course is also really easy, especially with a new rep, because there's a lot to fix. We can't do it. It doesn't work. You want to actually see a rep change a behavior, give them one thing to work on. Does anybody else remember Curly from City Slickers? Just one thing, and it's so hard to do. Unfortunately, the other thing that's really tough is that we come off pretty negative. I've seen even some of the most sunshine and rainbows, great motivating managers come off like a Debbie Downer during call coaching. This is actually the hardest skill to change. Even when we talk about it, even when we say how we need to say more positive than negative, it takes about 10 practice rounds for us to change the behavior and the habit when we're teaching this to sales managers. That Debbie wah downer. And of course, this is an easy one to understand. Where the hell are we going to find the time? I'll say it again. Sales management is the busiest job in the entire world. I've seen a lot of jobs and I've done a lot of jobs, and that one is tough. We put everything on the frontline managers, and coaching comes off every single time, right? Urgent customer issue, line at my desk, boss wants something, what's going to give? The coaching. The sad thing is that's why most of us got into management in the first place. Here's a little proof point on that last one. Our friends at Exec Vision and the Bridge Group did a study a few years back, right? So you've got the vast majority of managers are saying, listen, I coach every rep between 3 and 6 hours a month. So I'm meeting with them at least 1 hour a week. Less than half of the reps in the same survey agreed with that statistic. Now, I think some of the reason for that, you guys, is that we don't know what coaching is. That's why I defined it on the previous slide. When you're talking to a rep about a deal, that's not call coaching. When you're looking at their performance this month over last month, that's not call coaching, okay? Call coaching means there's a call present, and I'm getting personal feedback on the application of my skills to the sales call. Does that make sense? Call coaching is about skill development. It's not about hitting the number or reviewing my dials or my KPIs. And I think that's where we have the mismatch. The hard part is that skill development, really tough to get to. So here's a tip from our Call Coaching 201, strategic coaching class. That's hard to say. Think about your team on a normal curve, right? Does everybody remember this from high school algebra? Geometry? It's algebra. Somebody can chat it in. Where the hell? Statistics. All right, so we learned this in statistics. Any large group is going to fall on a curve, right? You've got 1 or 2 A players. You've got 1 or 2, they're in trouble on performance review players. Everybody else is in the middle. I've got an N on there. That stands for newbie. It's not fair to chart the newbie. They may wind up in the A's, even though at the beginning they perform with the D's, okay? Here's your normal curve. Do you coach them all equally? The answer is no. But here's the real question for everybody in a chat. Get your fingers ready. Who's your top priority? You only get the time to coach one group this month. Who do you go to first? With the goal, of course, of making the biggest impact on the number. And y'all know that my cheat sheet says I want to hit the team number, right? As many people as possible to hit the number. Oh, this is great. C, C, A, B, B, C, D, B, B, B. Hi, Ryan Durst. Lori is C and N. Focus on C's. They turn into B's. Hi, LV. Thank you. All right, here we go. Answer key is, drum roll, B, then N, then A, then C, then D. Most common mistake, I love I didn't see it with my brilliant folks here, are the Ds, the squeaky wheels. In fact, I've worked with companies who hire extra coaches just to go and coach the Ds. Let's be honest, you guys, most of the Ds are Ds because it's not just a skill problem. There's a will problem there too, right? The hardest thing as a manager is to not care more than your people do. Maybe not the hardest thing, but it's up there, right? So if they're not willing to put in the time and effort, I'm not willing to put in the time and effort. I put my Ds last, and sometimes I don't even get to them. I let my A's and B's help me out. I do them as groups. I do them every other month. They're going to have to pull up their game for me to invest my time as well. The reason we start with the B's is that when you can move a B's performance to an A level performance, there's a huge difference in the actual revenue attainment. Now, we've run these numbers for a couple companies where we literally charted out their ramp team, their quota, the percent to quota, the turnover, the attrition. Trust me, I'm not the one who built the Excel. And it was shocking, the difference in the dollars at the end of the month when we raise our B players up, right? So let's say we get 50% of our B players to increase 25% versus 50% of our C players to increase 25%, right? Keeping it the same. The B's are where it's at. N's need it next, right? Think about the cost to hire somebody, which is about 10 to 15x what we normally think it is, usually 10 to 15x their salary, okay? Put your time and money into those N's so you don't lose them. Keep your attrition low. Keep your ramp fast. So there's another model we did. I won't go into the details because I will always screw up the numbers, but we basically pitted ramp time against attrition. If you were to take a standard on both, right, there was account managers, I won't go into the details, email me if you want it later. And we said, all right, if we take their attrition from where it is to best practice, or we take their ramp from where it is to best practice, where did you earn more? It was almost 2 to 1 ramp. Everybody thinks about the cost of attrition. Ramp is what's killing you, not the empty seat, but the green seat. Interesting, right? So that's why N's are number 2. So if you chart out your team, then build a schedule, you'll have a much better time getting to them, and make sure that you're focusing your coaching efforts with the right people to make the biggest impact. All right, here's my second favorite tip in coaching. This is really about the execution of coaching. Anybody who's listened to a call with a rep or recorded has gotten a list. We're listening to the call and we're writing down all of our notes. Let's be honest, most of them are cringeworthy. Okay? They're cringeworthy. It's like, oh, I can't believe you pushed right past the gate. Oh my God, that intro was awful. You totally threw up features. You walked right past that buying sign. You shut down at the objection. Just like, it hurts us to listen to some of these. Okay. This is where we get the laundry list. And this is where we wind up doing all the talking. So here's my cheat. Keep those notes. You can't help yourself. If you write them down, you won't say them all. Hide your notes. Okay. Then I want you to pick one area. We don't have time to talk about which area you pick. I want you to pick one of them, and I want you to convert that into questions. Okay, so I picked the first one, gatekeeper, and I converted it while I'm listening to the call into a question. So what made you decide to do that? Okay, ask a few questions about this. You're learning to speak coach, which is talking in questions. Why? Because when a rep can self-discover their improvement opportunity, your chances of them actually working to improve it and changing a behavior are double to triple. When you tell them what to work on, when you tell them how you used to do it, or when you give them a laundry list of things to improve, not so much. I fill out the rest of that chart with positive points. 1 improvement area, 3 positives, and now you've got to translate that improvement area into questions. So this is what I'm doing when I'm listening to a call. I keep a fake smile because I've been told I have RBF. Ladies can tell you in the chat what that means. And try to keep it positive, and I translate during the call so that I don't throw up all over the rep. Here's the other thing that helps me, because like I said, I was a top rep and I've struggled to become a good coach. Coach the rep, not the deal. So the goal of coaching isn't just about skill improvement, right? The real goal of coaching is rep engagement. The reason our teams are craving more development is they want that time. They want the face time. They want the training. They want the love from leadership. Reps, I know, like, tell me if I'm wrong. You chat it in if I'm wrong, but that's my experience. So we need to give that to them. Unfortunately, what winds up happening is we hear a call and we try to save the deal. I personally will no longer coach live calls because I can't freaking help myself from trying to save the deal. Use recorded calls. Help the rep with something they've already done in the past. And you will find yourself asking immediately, where is this deal? Is it too late to save it? It tells you you're coaching the deal, not the rep. Okay? It's about their engagement. And your goal is that they leave feeling like they're part of Marvel comic book series, freaking superhero. You want a rep to walk out feeling 10 feet tall. We all know the very best sales call a salesperson has during the day is right after another great call. You get a win, you're feeling awesome, not the time to go on break. We know that, right? It's time to pound out 10 more calls because the confidence is awesome. So why aren't they feeling that when they leave your coaching sessions? This is a chance for you to infuse them, have them walk out feeling amazing. You're going to see morale go up. You're going to see them focus on improvement. You're going to see call quality go up. It's all about confidence building, baby. Okay? Those are my top 3 tips for call coaching. We have a call coaching 101 level class, a call coaching 201 level class, a full certification around call coaching. 301 is only done in live practice. It's so important. It takes that long to shift the behavior of call coaching. So if you're one of my VPs who are joining me for this call, go get some development for your team. It's not a natural skill. We need help. We need training to change that behavior and get better at it. And it has huge payoffs. I'm going to switch gears just a little bit and talk next about that management process or cadence that we referred to earlier. This is our second class we typically do in a certification series. It's called Essential Manager Meetings. The idea is you can't spend all day just reacting. You got to have a process. And part of that process is, what are my interfaces with my team? We teach a standard 8 interfaces. Pardon me, great thing to write down. We don't have time to dig into every single one of these. Happy to answer questions if you want to give them to me at the end. Kira Hills, yes, RBF, resting face. All right, performance one-on-one meetings. These are short. This is, how did you do last month? What are the goals for this month? They're usually happening in the first week of the month. I hear some people who are doing this weekly too often. Best practices between every 2 to 4 weeks. If you have a longer sales cycle, fine, stretch it out. Do it mid-month or mid-quarter and at the end of the quarter, or just once at the end of the quarter. Sales huddles, very often every morning, sometimes just a couple days. Standing room only. Where's our focus? It's the quick scrum. If people are pulling up a seat, if you need to book a meeting room for a half an hour, your sales huddles are not working. Call coaching we just talked about, right? It's not about deals. It's about skill development. A call is present, small groups at most. Pipeline meetings. We teach to do these in a team setting. Way too much time is being wasted by sales managers going and meeting with reps individually about their pipeline and their forecast. When you do this in a team setting, which of course requires a clean pipeline first, let's start. In a team setting, we get to build some tension, don't we? We get to put it up on the wall. It has to be a tight run ship. But I don't like going to a meeting where I'm not ready to forecast a win, or when I don't know my business. And believe me, it will not happen more than once or twice. Now, in this meeting, when I identify that Billy's got an issue and Jane doesn't know her business, then I book a follow-up meeting with them. And that is what we call a sales strategy meeting. There's 2 or 3 different kinds, okay? If I'm running a team of account managers, I'm likely going to have a territory strategy meeting. Let's penetrate your territory. Let's stop calling and taking orders from the top 20%. Let's find the gold in them there hills. An account strategy meeting is about penetrating accounts. Are we talking to all the buyers? Do we have the full wallet share? Am I selling all my different SKUs and product lines? And of course, a deal strategy meeting is about pulling in the deal. Any one of those strategy meetings happen ad hoc. I would say you're probably having at least one a day. You identify the need for a sales strategy meeting in a performance one-on-one meeting, in a pipeline meeting. We also have team meetings, right? Great for updates once every month or so. And now this one's a little different than what you're going to hear mostly, a quarterly performance and career meeting. A lot of companies have annual reviews. So once a year I get feedback. Come on, right? Let's do that at least quarterly. And we take it beyond the performance discussion. Here's how you're doing at the company, and make sure we're talking about careers. We all know millennials. We want to be promoted quickly. I've been here 5 minutes. Why am I not in charge? I want to move up. It's important to them. So talk about it at least once a quarter. Now, that's a lot of meetings. How do we get all that done? We get it done by pushing the ad hoc, the line at the desk, the mole, the slack, the urgency into the meetings. And it's one of the most important things that we can teach managers. Moving from reactive to proactive is what pushes managers from the young to the developing to the strong. Now, how do we run all these different meetings? I've got a really, really great framework that you can use in any meeting. We call it the coaching model. This was actually Girls Club's #1 favorite module because you can use it anywhere, okay? Coaching is basically something that reminds us. It's a framework you can use in any interaction, but it reminds us that the hallmark of great managers are asking questions. So there's call coaching, right? We've talked about that ad nauseum. Y'all can tell me what the call coaching definition is, right? But then there's this management style of coaching. And we can use a coaching style in a performance one-on-one meeting. We can use a coaching style in a pipeline meeting. And the coaching model helps us remember. Here's what it looks like. Why don't you read for a second? All right, clarify expectations. Hey, we're at this meeting because here's what I've seen. Here's what I hear you doing great. Here's what I've noticed. Here's what the data says. That's observed behavior. Then boom, right in the middle, we start asking questions. What do you think? Why is it that way? What can we do about it? The more questions, the better. This is not a rote one question and you're done. This needs to be the bulk of the meeting. Now we're in the back half, folks. We're committing to action items. Okay, great. Now what are we going to do about it? By when? The H is for how can I help? Maybe you're going to role play it. Maybe you're going to hook them up with someone else. Maybe you're going to do an intro. Maybe you've got nothing to do, and that ain't bad, but it's your job to offer. And of course, the N is for next steps. When are we going to meet about this again? All right, go ahead and book that meeting. If you're nailing it, here's an example, everybody. If you're nailing it as a leader, you're walking out of that meeting with 0 action items. Your rep is documenting it. Your rep is sending you the email. Your rep is booking the very next meeting, and they know what they're going to go do. Why is that important? Because ownership is the key. Really hard for new managers. We're all about doing it ourselves. It's one of those behaviors we have to redirect, isn't it? We're all about, if I'm honest, me proving to the team I was there to help. Like, I'll take that. I can do that. I'm going to work as hard as my team does. Problem is you're doing it times 10 or 15 or 20 with everything else that's on your plate. So the more we can push to our reps, the better. I see a question come in here and I'm going to pause. I've got enough minutes here to just answer this. Regarding one-on-one, our team is requested weekly, although I feel the same as you. Suggestions. Thanks for the question. Dara. I screwed that up, I bet. Sorry about that. Let me know if you can type it phonetically, do it, okay? Nailed it, really? Yes, thanks, Dara. All right, your team wants the interaction with you. They want the feedback, they want the love, okay? And especially now with some COVID stuff happening. So my question is, are they seeing you in huddles where you're giving them focus? Because you could be doing that daily, 15 minutes in the mornings. Are you having pipeline meetings with the whole team? Okay, strategy meetings when they need it. They want your time and attention, but that can happen in any of those other meetings, not to mention the call coaching when it's all about them. Okay, so don't spend all of your time going through the deals and the numbers. Broaden it out a little bit. Maybe we're talking strategy. Maybe we're talking pipeline. Maybe we're talking skills. I think what they want is the face time. So try that. what was the sales management book that we talked about earlier? Mary Jo, hi. The Leadership Pipeline. It's freaking ancient, but man, it's good. It's especially if you're in enablement, right? I wear the trainer hat as well as the sales leader hat, and that helped me a lot. All right, I want to talk about two more of our very favorite classes and two that we're including in this boot camp. So let's get to it. Driving performance with goals I always say it's the most popular class, and it's not. The coaching model has been our most popular class, but this is the one where people cry and hug me and say, I finally understand my job. So one of the things we teach in this class is that we have to get beyond, like I said before, the metrics and the revenue, okay? All of these that you see in my triangle, from the vision of the company down to the metrics, all of these are things we can use and things we can communicate and things that we can connect reps to and levers if we can pull, if you will, okay? Now, most of new managers only know about metrics and goals in between those two orange areas, but all of these are at our disposal. Our sales manager's playground really is from the goal down. Can I take my team goal and can I translate it into milestones? Where do I need to be by the 10th of the month? Can I translate it into actions every day and tasks and behaviors? Remember how we talked about behaviors with Yelp? Even more importantly, KPIs. What am I going to be able to look at every day to know I'm on track? And then finally, at the bottom are the metrics. We've got to be able to play with all of these. When we can take a team goal and translate it into these things, that's how we drive performance with our teams. And it's not always just the company goal. What's the personal goal, right? And do people know what it is? I used to be able to walk floors back when we could be on site. And when we were doing benchmarks assessments, I would randomly ask, hey, what's your number today? I will tell you the vast majority of reps couldn't tell you what their daily number was. Isn't that weird? So make sure that you know how to translate. And that's what we teach in this class. And it's really, really important. It's how you get beyond that one or the other, the metrics, up to the revenue. Now, how do you make all this happen? Own Your Day is really, really, it's super popular, and everybody's favorite thing in it is called the Eisenhower Matrix. We didn't make up the Eisenhower Matrix. We're just teaching managers how to use it. It basically says this: if you are doing reactive whack-a-mole management, which we all do, and here's why, by the way, can I just take a break and have fun with this for a second? Great salespeople are like water. We will always flow the path of least resistance. Sure, I have access to a written and online playbook, but it's a hell of a lot faster for me to Slack my manager and ask the question, right? We're always going to do what's fastest and easiest. That's part of what makes us great salespeople. But as sales managers, when we are leading a group of 15 of those, we will absolutely be bald and crazy if we let them do that with us. So the Eisenhower Matrix starts teaching us to take every single request and ask two questions and chart it. Is it urgent and is it important? So important drives money or revenue because that's what we've been hired to do. A customer service complaint, a voicemail of a screaming upset customer. Boy, that sure feels important and it sure feels urgent. But does it drive revenue? Sure, if there's a big deal on the blocks, but does it drive revenue? No. Is there a deadline? That's the question you ask about whether or not it's urgent. No. So maybe that's not our first task. So we have to take a look at each one, figure out where it goes, chart it, and then take the appropriate action. When it's urgent and important, you do it now. It's a fire drill. You rank it by the deadline. You get that baby done, right? But when it's super urgent and doesn't drive revenue, maybe I need to delegate that to someone. Maybe I need to teach somebody how to do it. Like, let's not fire drill that. Schedule. This is where you're going to spend a lot of time as a leader when it's important but not urgent. Let me give you an example. The rep comes up and says, oh my God, I had the best call. And they start going down the road. This one time at band camp, and they're telling you the blow by blow of the entire call. They need it. They want it. You want to pet them. You want to love them, but there's 20 other things you're waiting to get to. So you schedule it. This is where you push it and say, oh my God, I really want to hear that. Will you bring that story to the huddle? Oh, I really want to hear about this call, but I'm on a deadline. I'm about to go into a call coaching. I'm in a one-on-one with someone else. Can you please save that story and bring it to our one-on-one at the end of the month? Can you please send me that call and we'll listen to it for call coaching? Almost every time a rep is at your desk, you can push it to a meeting. Not when it's urgent and an order needs to get out the door. That's when we do it now. So using that Eisenhower Matrix is what helps people get proactive. Now, the other thing we love to do is then teach managers how to push off the meeting. Like my favorite one is in Slack, right? Because of course now a rep can't see that we're with somebody else. So it's even harder on managers because our chat or whatever it is we're using is blowing up all day long with 15 people making us the shall answer woman. So what I love to say is in a meeting, if this is critical, please hit me back in 30 minutes. That's because now the rep owns the action item, not me, right? And I'm telling you 9 out of 10 times, they're going to find another place to get the answer. They started with you because you used to be the path of least resistance. So it's about helping them feel supported, but in the right times, in the right way, so that it fits into your cadence, right? And your priorities, not just making you everything to everybody. So I'm going to end with that tip on owning your day. If you do nothing else, work to get proactive and get control of your calendar. Book your essential meetings and start your cadence. Start translating the goals through performance management. Make time for the coaching. Make your coaching a little bit better. If you don't get any budget that you can play with to get your training for yourself or for your team, then follow me on LinkedIn and continue to consume the free content. Come to future webinars. We always make it tip rich like this, where you can take something and immediately execute it. That's what we're known for. We think theory is BS, and it's all about helping people really get the job done.